After debatable predictions, let's discuss some hard facts. Like the energy crisis in Europe, it's getting worse by the day. Electricity bills are soaring, gas reserves are depleting, and winter is coming. As the mercury dips, gas and oil consumption is going to pick up. But Europe does not have enough supplies. So what is it doing to avert this crisis from snowballing? Cost cutting. Almost every European nation has set new power-saving targets, new limits on energy consumption. Take the case of Greece. It has told the public sector to turn off lights or face consequences. What sort of consequences? The withdrawal of government funding to energy firms. Listen to this.
Reduce the air conditioning. Maintain the heaters. Remember to turn off the lights so we are not wasting energy. The lights on government buildings do not still be on at midnight. We are asking basic things.
In France, the government is taking similar steps every day. As the evening descends, the lights are dimmed, the monuments go dark, the fountains stop running. French cities bear a desolate spectacle. The scale of the crisis can be gauged through this story. The Eiffel Tower switching off its twinkling lights. The most visited monument in the world could go dark an hour earlier than usual. French citizens say their prospects look gloomy.
It's a bit gloomy. It's sad, especially buildings like the Place des Beaux. Arts behind me are usually magnificently lit up, even with little light.
So we know there is a crisis. The question is, how bad could this get, and is there a way out? Let's try to find some answers. To start with, American officials are a bit alarmed at the crisis. They don't see any obvious solutions in sight. Reports claim that White House staff is worried that Putin plans to force a bleak winter on Europe. They believe that he might cut off all supplies anytime, the impact of which would be severe. You see, if Putin follows through this threat, Europe will certainly enter recession. That's exactly what the Americans fear. Reports in American media have gone as far as to say that Europe could be heading back to the Middle Ages, to using firewood for heating, to waiting weeks for supplies, and traveling miles for fuel. And what's worse, this will not be a short-term crisis. Analysts are expecting a deeper, prolonged crisis and an even more persistently elevated inflation.
Now to the UK and the growing agony there over energy prices. Millions of people in Britain are braced for energy bills to shoot up this coming winter. Our London correspondent Alex Izat reports now on the impact of inflation on those with disabilities.
Energy will soon get unaffordable for a significant portion of the British population. The war in Ukraine and its global fallout have hit the crude market hard. Oil and gas prices are skyrocketing, fueling a grave cost of living crisis. The UK government has announced its aid to help soften the upcoming economic blow, and among this is a £150 payout intended to help people with disabilities.
The Energy Cabinet announcement of rising energy costs will come into effect for around 24 million households in England, Scotland and Wales on default energy tariffs on October 1st and will remain.
Activists for people with disabilities saying that the people are struggling and it is a matter of life and death for them if the government does not step in.
Some of Europe's biggest banks are preparing for a winter of potential power cuts. A number have prepared backup generators and they got set to dim the lights at work so that online banking and ATMs don't go dark. The aim is to support the money system that underpins the region's economy as Russia cuts gas supply to Europe. JP Morgan employs thousands in London and Frankfurt. A source told Reuters it had practiced power outage simulations. They also said the lender could change to diesel generators, which could keep key offices running for several days. Another source said Italy's Unicredit has tested its operational resilience this summer. Its latest disaster recovery test focused on the resilience of data processing, the source said. Deutsche Bank said it was rolling out energy-saving measures across its 1,400 buildings in Germany. It's shutting off hot running water in washrooms and changing workplace temperatures. It also turned off all interior branch lighting and illuminated outdoor advertising overnight. A number of banks have also cut office space and placed staff in fewer buildings. Experts still fear that few companies are prepared for lengthy blackouts of more than a few days. European gas prices have surged in recent months. This week, Russia's state-controlled Gazprom said it would indefinitely extend a shutdown to the major Nord Stream 1 gas pipeline.
This morning, urgent talks in Washington to avoid a rail strike as unions representing engineers and conductors negotiate with the nation's biggest freight railroads. Passenger service, supply chains, jobs, and supporting industries could be crippled, costing the economy an estimated $2 billion per day. The deadline for a deal, 12:01 a.m. Friday. Some long-distance Amtrak service could be suspended as early as today.
Obviously, a railroad strike at this point in time would be extraordinarily detrimental to our economy and to the American people, and we want to avoid that.
Congressman Steny Hoyer among several lawmakers working to avert a strike over worker pay, health care, and other issues. There was a tentative deal which would have delivered workers a 24% raise, but two union holdouts released a statement accusing the railroads of using shippers, consumers, and the supply chain of our nation as pawns in an effort to get our unions to cave into their contract demands and calling it corporate terrorism. President Biden said to be in direct talks to avoid a strike, which could mean ordering workers to stay on the job.
The president has certain authorities that he can exercise. The Congress can also pass legislation.
The threat of higher costs coming as inflation shows signs of easing. Today's report from the Labor Department is expected to show the inflation rate dropped to 8.1% in August, down from 8.5% in July. Consider this, railroads carry 40% of the nation's long-haul shipments, so a railroad strike stops those goods literally in their tracks. Derek Dennis, ABC News, New York.